Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our online class of Beat the Holiday Bloat. And we are giving you some digestive healing support just directly from our naturopathic practice. This is Elizabeth Sharavati speaking, and I have Dr. Katie here with me. Actually, we can wave and say hi. Let me turn on the camera for us. So we're here.
Hi.
Hi. And we'll get started. So thanks so much for joining us. And I know it's a really busy time of year, but one of the reasons I wanted to put this webinar together for you was that we've had so many questions this week and the past couple of weeks actually over the holiday season on digestive health. And we know that there's a lot of factors going on in the holidays. There's different food. There's a totally different routine. You may be not exercising. There's lots more potentially indulgences and things that you may not be eating normally throughout your year. And that's okay, but we want to help you jumpstart your health into this new year because digestion is the root of and the foundation of our health. So without further ado, we'll get you started. And I just want to orient you to your control panel. So you should be able to see a small panel. It's gray and it's on the right side of your screen usually, and that will allow you to put a question in. If you click on the question line, you'll be able to open up a box and you can type your question in. You can also click beside your name and raise your hand. So there's a way to ask questions orally if you want us to open up your mic and ask a question. Right now, all of your mics are muted. If you're watching this as a recording, even after the holidays, you could be in the middle of the year. I mean, there's holidays all the time, and the digestion can go off with that. So all of the principles that we're sharing today are really going to be applicable any time of year with digestive issues. Okay, so let's jump in. So you're here in the right place on today's class. If you are ready to reclaim your digestive health and through that reclaim your healthy new year. If you want to kickstart healthy new year, if you want to kickstart weight loss, all of that is available to you from the material that we're sharing today. And if you're ready to get set for your 3-week cleanse, and if you are listening live, you will have received our awesome 3-week cleanse program guide. And if you are listening on a recording, then definitely go onto our website and get in touch with us. It's at tworivershealth.ca, and we will send you a copy of that anytime you're ready for it, just for listening. And then finally, if you're ready to discover what we use as our most effective natural digestive strategies, our first go-tos, our first lines of therapy to help you beat the holiday bloat. And this is going to make you feel so much more comfortable and so much more able to absorb your nutrition. And we're going to explain all of that and the why behind it so you really understand why we're asking you to do what you do. And you're also in the right place if you feel like this guy right about now. So let's start off with actually a question for you. We're going to put you in the hot seat. So we want to ask you, where does digestion begin? So you can vote for your answer in the polls if you're live on the call right now. So just plug that in. And we'll just give you about 30 seconds to put in your answers. And while you're doing that, we'll just say that this is not meant to be a trick question, but you might find that based on the answers it is. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to close the poll now. Okay, great. So we have 40% of you saying it starts in the stomach, and we have 45% of you saying it starts in the mouth. Yeah. Awesome. And the rest of you are saying it starts in the head. And if you answered in the head, you've got the right answer. So it was not meant to be super tricky, but maybe those of you who answered a little bit late as I was speaking about that got that. So I know all of you are here because you have symptoms that you want to address, and we want to help you get to the bottom of that. So we want to help you relieve those symptoms. We want to put tools in your hands that really work. This isn't meant to be treatment for you. We always encourage you to check with your own healthcare provider. However, a lot of these things are they're probably just in your kitchen cupboard and you're used to them, and we want to give you the background on why they work, okay? So indeed, we believe in starting with your mind, and I'm going to let Katie take it from here.
Yeah, so the first part of a healthy digestive system is really a healthy digestive eating mindset. And it's really important that when you eat, you know you're eating, you're paying attention to your food while you're ideally from when you start preparing it to when you eat it, and you're taking time to really taste and experience that food. That not only increases your enjoyment of eating, but it can help you eat less food if you're prone to overeating, and also just help your body digest the food by bringing that mindset and awareness. And sometimes we forget that even just thinking about something, it changes the hormones in our body, it changes our nervous system and our neurotransmitters. And in the case of digestion, thinking about eating actually increases our digestion process on a physical level.
So interesting. Mind-body link.
Yeah, and so when we are wanting to eat, we want our nervous system to be relaxed. There's two branches of our autonomic or non-controlled nervous system, and the one that we don't think about. And one is our sympathetic nervous system, which is our stress response. And the other is our parasympathetic nervous system, which is how we digest our food and where we want to be spending most of our time. And just like a radio dial, you can choose which frequency you're tuned to, but you can't do both at the same time. And so if you're stressed, your body will not be able to digest its food very well. Even if you're putting really great things in it, you're not going to be getting the most out of it. And so we really want to focus on, breathing and being calm, and just really remind you that you have that power to choose which state you're in.
Exactly. Yeah, so we want to pull back a little bit then and just highlight to you what we see as the main stages of your digestive process and where all this bloating might be coming from. And so digestion is really what we're really talking about is breaking your food into tiny, tiny particles. And ideally, we want to break these down into as small particles as possible, like on a molecular level. And when we are able to do that, the next stage of the digestive process becomes easy. That's absorption. That's where your nutrients can actually enter your bloodstream and become part of your body or be used for some function that your body needs to do. They become useful to your health. Unless you can break those pieces down into tiny, tiny particles, you're not going to be able to absorb them efficiently. And if the particles are left in your inside of your gut that are incompletely digested, so incompletely broken down, they become large particles that create inflammation inside your bowels. And when you create inflammation, you're actually going to break the tight junctions between your cells that line your gut. And those tight junctions are just like like mortar between bricks. And the inflammation will break that mortar down, and now kind of anything that fits the size will passively get in and pass that barrier. And what happens there is it creates further inflammation in your body because it triggers your immune system to go in and say, whoa, that's a big foreign particle and I don't recognize it, so I'm going to make an antibody and I'm going to create an immune response which involves inflammation in your whole bloodstream. And that way I can target it anytime I see that food again. And that's really where what we call leaky gut or hyperpermeability syndrome comes from. That's where people's food sensitivities come from, and then perpetuates the inflammation, gas, bloating, indigestion. You feel unwell. You might get headaches. There's so many potential.
And even pain, inflammation sometimes causes a lot of digestive pain for people.
Of course, yeah. Like anywhere that there's pain, you can attribute that to inflammation. And as naturopaths, we're always looking to help you find the root cause of that inflammation, the root cause of any symptom, really. And that way you can reverse it and take control of it so that you can not only relieve your symptom, but prevent issues from happening in the future. And then the third main stage of the digestive process is elimination. And this is a key function. So we often forget that the digestive tract is actually designed to bring certain materials into the body to help you rebuild your health, and to keep certain materials out of the body or to eliminate them from the body. And that's where your toxins are going. So fat-soluble toxins are actually being processed through your liver, and they go into your bile fluid. And your bile is the green stuff that we hopefully never see, but it is secreted via your gallbladder into your small intestine, and that's where the fat-soluble nutrients are absorbed, but the fat-soluble toxins are eliminated. And elimination is really, really important. I think we get a lot of questions about elimination in general, and how frequently is normal kind of thing. And so we always encourage you to think of having a bowel movement every time you have a meal as being normal. And maybe not everyone is having a bowel movement 3 times a day, although that would be completely normal. But we definitely want to see that you're having a bowel movement once a day, and hopefully not a painful one, not a crampy one, and what we say is a nice normal formed stool. And then, as Katie was saying, this whole concept of where's your mind, where's your calming practices, where's your stress level, because the mind and the emotions are very, very tied into the whole digestive process. They're like a foundation, actually. In our view, they're the foundation, because when you are in a more calm state, it allows your parasympathetic nervous system to turn on, which is this nervous system that controls secretion of your stomach acid, secretion and production of your digestive enzymes, of your bile, and then the movements of your bowels that you're never really supposed to feel, but that do help you process all of the food that you're eating and all of the toxins that you're eliminating. So let's go through some simple key steps that you can implement right away in your digestive health to help reduce the bloating and gas and get on track for recovering your digestive system after the holidays.
Yeah, and one of the things that is really a good way to relieve some of that digestive symptom that's really simple is making sure that you're chewing your food. Just like this little mouse is here. The more time you take to eat and really ensure that your food is properly broken up, the mouth is really, after the mind, the second place where your digestion starts. And there's enzymes in your saliva that are working to break down your food, and the motion of your chewing is an important part of breaking down food. The other thing we want to talk about is just getting back to the diet basics, and we'll get into that in a little more detail when we talk about the 3-week cleanse. But over the holidays, maybe there were treats and extra things around your eating, maybe things that you wouldn't normally eat. Getting back to your main diet is really helpful. If from previous cleanses or other work that gluten or dairy are not your friends, now's a good time to say, hey, the holidays are over and I'm going to let those go for now. And a big one is sugar as well.
Yeah, it's definitely laced throughout a lot of our holiday eating. Even the savory stuff can have sugar in it. And we know from looking at the health of our microbial system, which we're going to talk about shortly, that the bacteria that live in your gut, in the candida or yeast that live there too, they love sugar. They eat it, they consume it readily, and they use it to do their thing, which is basically multiplying. And so sugar and any other food really that doesn't digest well can be used for bacterial fermentation, gives them energy, lets them overgrow, and that alone is another reason why you need to get back to your basics.
Yeah, when Dr. Liz says fermentation, what that really means is gas is being made by the bacteria. And so that's another really big way that causes bloating.
And the pain, right? Because the bloating, the gas expands inside your bowels. Well, there's only so far that can stretch. When it stretches too much, that's another reason why there's cramping happening. And the gas too, it tends to be methane gas and hydrogen gas. Those are not nice smelling gases, if you know what I mean. So there's really good reasons again for you to return back to a diet that you know you digest well. And if you haven't found what that is, then definitely talk to us because we can help you identify it. There's no one correct diet for everyone that every person in the world should follow. We help you find the right diet for you.
So another step of the digestive process after chewing and picking what food comes in is making sure that when it gets to your stomach is all ready to digest it. And your stomach's main tool is through making an acidic environment. And this is very important, especially for digesting our proteins, that there's enough acid there. And a lot of times people worry that maybe they have too much stomach acid, but what we find is that a lot of people actually don't have enough.
That's right. It's much more common to have too little stomach acid than too much.
And this causes all kinds of digestive problems from, obviously holiday bloat, but also things like heartburn can even be caused by not enough stomach acid.
That's a paradoxical thing that we do talk a lot about in our practice when people have issues with heartburn and are maybe needing to use an antacid or even a stronger medication or prescription to block their acid. We always want to check in with that because, like Katie said, it's far more common to have low stomach acid levels and have that be a potential cause of your heartburn than to actually have quote unquote too much stomach acid. The acid itself is a trigger for the nice little flap, the cardiac sphincter. It's a piece of tissue between your stomach and your esophagus, and having enough acid in your stomach makes that sphincter close. And if there's not enough acid, then that signal can be lost. And then any little bit of acid, even if it's a small amount, that gets into your esophagus, the tube that connects your throat to your stomach, well, that esophagus isn't lined with the same kind of tissue that the stomach is. It's not protected from acid, whereas the stomach makes its own mucus lining that protects it from its own acid.
The stomach wants to be acidic.
That's right. It's designed for that. And like Katie said, if you don't have enough acid in the stomach, then proteins don't get digested. So what you're passing down into your small intestine, it's really incompletely digested and definitely a source of gas and bloating because then our friends, the bacteria, come on in and use that as a source for their nutrition and their metabolism. The other piece about amplifying your acid is when you suppress your acid or if you don't have enough, you will not be absorbing your minerals properly. So here we're talking about iron, calcium, and magnesium. You've probably heard of all of these minerals as being really important for different aspects of your health. And anytime you're using a medication for the long term, like more than 2 to 3 weeks, we really should check in because then you're losing your mineral absorption, and that can lead to other potentially serious health consequences. Probably one of the most serious would be osteoporosis in the long term because of lack of absorption of calcium. And then so that going forward down the digestive process, we're talking about breaking it down. So this is where now pancreatic enzymes come into play. So hopefully we've had great breakdown in your stomach. We've removed some of the different bonds between the molecules in your food, and it really comes down to that. And then another stage of digestion happens, and that's in your intestines. So the pancreas makes enzymes that help break down your food even further, and that gets them ready to be absorbed.
And then the final step is once your food has been digested or broken down into these ideal teeny molecules that are just perfect for your body to take them up, that's what it does. And that's what absorption is. And that works through the walls of your small intestine, and all of those lovely little bits of amino acids and sugars just get taken right up into your bloodstream, and that's what your body uses to repair itself, to just carry on everyday functions that we all need to do to live.
Absolutely. You know, this is a great reminder around how your health is rebuilt. It comes from the food that you're eating. And every cell of our body has a limited lifespan. For some, it's a couple of months. And when that cell's time has come, it needs to be replaced by a brand new cell. So the materials for building new cells, new tissue, actually new body, new you, are coming from your diet and the food that you're choosing to eat, but hopefully breaking it down, digesting it, and then absorbing it. That's the only way that you can actually restore your optimal potential health. So we introduced this three-piece model earlier in our session today, and we talked about how we really want to help you relieve those symptoms so that you can get on with the other things of life and not be distracted by pain and constipation or too frequent stools or things like that can go on, especially post-holidays. And we've given you a sense of the mechanical processes that need to be in place and that need to be optimized for all of this to happen. So now we want to move into restoring your intestinal, your gut health, your digestion for the long term, and restoring your overall health.
And with that restoration process, what we're really talking about is repairing. So when Dr. Liz was talking about leaky gut or intestinal hyperpermeability, we really want to reverse that to prevent further damage. And, you know, if you are getting heartburn, that can cause damage in the esophagus, and we want to repair that as well.
Absolutely. And we tend to use certain types of nutrients or therapies to encourage that repair process, which we'll touch on very shortly. So at this stage of our program, Katie and I wanted to talk about our favorite therapies that we tend to use in practice and see great results with. And they actually happen to be different. So when we were preparing for this session, it was really interesting to learn Dr. Katie's preferred therapies that she tends to use more of and that her patients do really well with. And I had a different set altogether of my go-tos. So we're going to share all of these.
Although I think we both have a love of probiotics.
Yes. And I think we both have a love of slippery elm. So sorry, let me go back to that other slide. So building blocks, reconstruct the scene. So now I wanted you to turn your mind's eye into the inside of your intestines, and it's dark in there, and there's some inflammation, and there's some extra gas, and it's maybe not a happy place right now if you have tuned into this webinar because you're looking for help with that. So one of our go-tos is an amino acid. An amino acid is a building block of a protein. So it's one tiny piece of a protein, and it's called glutamine. So we want to think of reconstructing the scene with glutamine. And how this works is that glutamine is the preferred fuel source for the enterocytes, the cells that are lining the inside of your intestines. And they can absorb it, and they will use it to self-repair. And when those cells self-repair, the intestinal tract becomes much healthier and de-inflamed. It can be better at being a selective barrier, so choosing the nutrients that you're supposed to absorb and keeping out the stuff that's either not ready to be absorbed because it's not digested fully, or that is toxic and is intended to be excreted from your body. But if it's hanging around in your intestines and your intestines are, let's think of it as being porous and not as selective, then those toxins are more readily going to be absorbed back in your blood and then re-interact with all the rest of your cells and tissues and make you feel ill or unwell, or it could erupt your skin, many different consequences. And as Dr. Katie mentioned, we both really favor probiotics, and there are so many reasons why probiotics are helpful for digestive issues. In fact, for, I would say, maybe 60% of my patients whose chief concern is around gas and bloating, the probiotics will eliminate it almost completely, if not completely. And so there's really like an onslaught of pressures on our microbes. Inside our bowels, we actually carry trillions of microbes, trillions of bacteria, some yeasts, even some parasites are normal to be there as long as they don't overgrow. And there's probably about 1,000 different species that are living there, and that's normal. And through the millennia, and definitely through the last few hundred years, humans have lost some of the biodiversity of that microbial life. And we don't know all the consequences that that's going to have, but we do know that there are microbes that reduce gut inflammation. So for people that have irritable bowel diseases like Crohn's or colitis, there are bacteria that are meant to inhabit an infant's colon that help prevent asthma, allergies, eczema. There are bacteria that help you digest your food and that also process your hormones and other toxins so that they don't interact or imbalance you on all kinds of different levels. And the bacteria are under pressure from usually the Western diet because it's so rich in carbohydrates and is poor in fiber, it's poor in bad fats. They're under pressure from antibiotics. Even the amount of antibiotic residues that are left in meats that from animals that are treated routinely with antibiotics to help them grow faster, we really believe this is an inappropriate use of antibiotics, and we do encourage you to use antibiotic-free meat if you're eating meats products or organic sources, because even these little trace amounts are proposed currently to be a source of potential antibiotic resistance, meaning that antibiotic therapies may not work for you if you've been exposed to too many antibiotics and turned your microbes onto that, and they adapt to it, and then they are able to resist the antibiotic when you really need them for an infection. The other piece on microbes is candida or yeast, and many women do suffer from yeast infections, and we usually consider that it's usually a vaginal issue where it shows up, but the candida is ultimately inhabiting your colon and your small intestine, and the candida like to overgrow when they're exposed to sugar. And so the minute that you go back to basics, like Dr. Katie was explaining earlier today, and reduce those refined starches and carbs and sugars, the candida will have less material to basically consume and eat. And when you use a great probiotic supplement, then you'll basically restore the good guys, and they'll help to outcompete any of the bad guys. Calm down those symptoms.
Those two pieces really go hand in hand, the eliminating sugar with the taking the probiotics, because you don't want to be taking a supplement and then be putting in the exact food that's going to be counteracting all the good work you're doing and all the good bacteria that you're taking.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the adding the probiotic really gives you a long-term strategy, because those good bacteria, you're seeding them, and they will grow and colonize and adhere to the inside of your colon too, and your small intestine, and they will then create stronger colonies and take up space and not let other bad guys in. And I also love flaxseed, and flaxseed is a really wonderful digestive aid for so many reasons. When you grind it, you do release more of the omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory. So it's an oil inside the flax seed that's anti-inflammatory. If you take them whole, it tends to be more of a gentle laxative because our body doesn't break down the shell of the flaxseed very efficiently. And so it depends on what you're using it with. Either one is okay. We encourage ground flax because it's a nice bulk forming laxative. It makes stools a lot easier. It's balancing to the gut. So if your stools are too frequent, flax will slow it down. And if they're too infrequent, flax will speed them up and aid and work like a laxative, but very, very gently. And it's not the kind of laxative that your bowel ever becomes dependent on. One thing to keep in mind with flax, you do need to make sure that you're taking an extra fluid, because anytime you're adding in a nice strong fiber source like this, the idea here is that those fibers absorb water around them. And that's why they are soothing to the inside of the gut. And so you want to make sure you're hydrated, an extra glass of water, for example. And it's okay to actually separate your fluids. You don't have to take it right with the flax necessarily. And we do suggest having most of your fluids, but not with meals, but between meals. And that's another way to prevent diluting your precious stomach acid and your highly necessary digestive enzymes by spacing out a lot of that fluid and just consuming a tiny bit of fluid maybe with your meal, and then an hour or two later have most of your water, or you can have it right before. In fact, if you have a couple big glasses of water and half an hour before your meal, it's actually a proven weight loss strategy by changing nothing else.
That's really neat. Yeah, so one of my favorite digestive, tools is slippery elm. And slippery elm is just this really beautiful plant that is we use an extract of the bark, and it is what we call a demulcent, which means that it makes sort of like if you were to put the powder in water, it would make like almost a gelatinous kind of mixture.
Like a goop.
A goop, yeah. It's goopy,
yeah.
Which then can cover your tired, inflamed digestive tract with like a little goop layer, which if you're having, stomach acid, reflux, getting that nice goop along the outside is very gentle for that. And it's also very helpful in the lower digestive tract as well. If you've been having any sort of inflammation, pain, disruption with your stool, this is soothing and healing to both the upper and lower digestive tract.
Yeah.
Another type of herbs that I really like are called digestive bitters, and they taste really great. You might make a face like this guy when you try them. They're quite bitter, but taken 15 minutes before meals, they really wake up your digestive system through the power of taste. That signals a whole big hormone cascade that says, hey, it's time to eat. And this is a really great way of naturally increasing your stomach acid production and your enzyme production. So both the salivary, the stomach, and the pancreatic enzymes are all told, hey, there's food coming, it's time to eat. And this can be really helpful with really the whole process of digestion, which is why I want to talk about it with bloating.
Absolutely. And I think it's a similar principle to why we encourage you to amplify your acid. So things like lemon and lime and vinegar or apple cider vinegar, they're sour flavors and have a similar effect to the bitters. The digestive bitters as herbs, as Dr. Katie was mentioning, will be a much stronger effect, but a very traditional mixture and a use of herbs for promoting digestion. Some of you may be taking some lemon water or a tablespoon or two of apple cider vinegar a few minutes before meals. And my mouth is watering as I'm saying this because I love those flavors. But see, just like Katie was saying, and when you think about food, you start digesting. I'm ready for my meal. It's lunch hour.
Lunch.
So yeah, so case in point, but the sour and the bitter flavors, they wake up your digestive process. They add more acid to your stomach, and paradoxically, we do want that. More acid in the stomach makes it make more acid, and then your bitters, they have those connections to your brain that gets your bile flowing, and that's from your liver, and it's super restorative. Mm-hmm.
And then something that we don't always think about, but that can be quite healing for bloating and digestion in general, are our herbal teas and infusions. Mm-hmm. And so this is a picture of a chamomile flower, which is a really nice calming digestive herb. But there are lots of things you probably have in your kitchen that are actually used medicinally to treat digestive complaints. So peppermint's a big one in IBS and just in digestive bloating in general. It really does relieve the bloating. So does fennel, and ginger's a nice anti-inflammatory tea, can help with nausea as well as just digestion in general. So any of those herbs on their own or in combination can really be used often after a meal if you're feeling like maybe you overindulged, or even if you didn't, your digestion is just not up to doing what it normally does. You can make yourself a cup of tea. We do recommend when you're making a medicinal tea that you steep it covered for at least 5 minutes. And the 5-minute time frame is to make sure that all of those good molecules from the plants are properly extracted into the water. And steeping it covered, it just helps keep, again, the extraction molecules, especially with digestive teas. A lot of the active components of the plants are very aromatic. That's why the tea smells very good, but they can escape in the steam. They're being aromatic, they're very volatile, and they can leave. So by keeping your tea covered, you're keeping the most of those volatile aromatic compounds in your tea. So you'll get the most medicinal benefit if you steep it covered for 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Keeps in those super valuable essential oils and the flavor. And it keeps it nice and hot.
Yes.
So I hope this gives you a great snapshot of our 3-tiered approach to restoring digestive health and beating the bloat. So we talked about relieving your symptoms and how the first stage of doing that is actually getting back to the basics of how the mechanics of your digestion work. So I hope that you understand the background of that now, and some strategies that are going to help optimize those processes for you. And then we talked about how you can restore your health by nature of having healthy digestion, and you can restore the really good functions of all of your digestive organs. For example, we mentioned stomach-based digestion, which is acid related, and how adding a little bit more acid, such as the apple cider vinegar or lemon juice, say in your salad dressing or in a lemon water a little bit before you eat, those can actually restore the action of your stomach to produce more acid. Now, if you're going to work with that and you have heartburn, especially, then you're going to want to work with your healthcare practitioner for sure to help put you on a program that you're not going to get lots of pain and adverse effects with that. And then we talked about repairing the system and how the gut barrier especially is a really good a very active tissue. It can repair itself given the right situation, the right nutrients, given the obstacles of, say, foods that you're intolerant to and sugar and inflammation moved out of the way. Your body will repair itself, and then you can expect much better results going forward this year. And with all of those 3 pillars in place, then you get to reclaim your health. You get to reclaim the potential for your future health, both now and decades from now. Because again, having a healthy digestive system informs the potential for your body to be at its best. Because that's where you're getting bad stuff out and bringing good stuff in. So we hope that helps you reclaim your healthy new year. And this is a really powerful time in the calendar year to make some changes and to get well. And we are not all about New Year's resolutions, or at least I'm not.
Me either.
Yeah. And I had another video that I shared earlier on setting a theme word for the year, theme for 2016, and mine was peace. And I know that's going to facilitate good digestion. And so if you have, a feeling that you want to bring in to your life this year, or there's a part of your health that needs a little bit of more love, make it about an intention and less about a resolution, just because resolutions tend to have a hard edge to them, and they tend to make us feel bad about ourselves if we don't do that thing every single day or what have you, and then we feel like it's all or nothing. Well, it's all done, and I might as well just go back to my, say, holiday eating. And so be gentle with it, and your digestion will thank you.
So now we want to talk about the handout that you all received by email if you're joining us live. It's our 3-week cleanse, and it's a program that we really like to really reboot health, reboot digestive health, and help kickstart anything from a digestive program to a weight loss program to a skin program.
Absolutely.
We use this a lot.
Yeah, we do. And our patients get great results, and a lot of them ask for it every year. And we have upgraded it big time, specifically for this call. And we wanted to offer it to you. It's something that we hope will empower your health. And it's a very safe opportunity to explore how food can affect things for you, starting from your digestion, but there could be many other aspects. A lot of my patients say that their sleep improves when they're on the cleanse. Mood improves, PMS symptoms go way down, anything that's inflammatory that you can think of that has to do with pain, even inflammation in the nervous system, which could create something like brain fog or a bad mood or even depression and anxiety. Your food can be a huge healer, and we want to give you this empowerment because, well, that's something that we can't do for you anyway, but we definitely have this tool and this wisdom that we've used over years. And it's really about returning to a natural whole foods diet. You're never starving, you're never fasting, you shouldn't feel deprived. You can really eat as much as you would like of the foods that are on your list. And of course, fine tuning and having specific questions about your nutrition, you can pop them up in the question box today, or you can absolutely come and see us or your local healthcare provider for that. And there's lots more where this tool came from. So if you haven't already, make sure that you're on our email list. So I want you to go head on over right now if you haven't already. It's tworivershealth.ca, and there's a button to click to subscribe, and that way you'll get all of our updates. You'll get all of our awesome tools, our special articles, and you'll hear about our events first and foremost that you can get in, especially if we have ones that have limited seating, which is often the case. So we want you to be able to take advantage of that. So make sure that you're subscribed to our email, and then if you're in Gmail, drag that message when you opt in to our when you subscribe to our email, drag your message of welcome right into your primary folder so that you won't miss a thing.
Yeah, and so something that we're going to be sending out a full email update on soon is that I'm hosting another live digestion event next month. It's going to be in February. And what we're going to talk about is IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, and the brain and gut connection. Especially through this talk, we're going to talk about probiotics and how those help facilitate good digestion through communication with your brain and good mood health, because those things are very tied together.
Sounds awesome. So make sure that you're subscribed so that you can be on Katie's list when she sends out all the details for that super helpful, empowering event. Okay, guys, so let's see if there's any questions that have come up in the question box. Okay, so we have a question from Ayla. I'm just going to show us. Can you guys see us? So Ayla says, what about coffee? Okay, so Ayla, I'm assuming you're talking about coffee as it relates to digestion or digestive bloating. So this is a bit of a two-edged sword, and I'm going to let Katie respond to this one too. So coffee can be, for some people, actually useful for digestion, mostly if you tend to be constipated. For some people, a little bit of coffee will actually get that bowel going because it has that real stimulation effect. It actually stimulates both the parasympathetic nerves, which are your calming rest and digest nerves, and your sympathetic nervous system, which is more your stress nerves. And most of us feel a little bit more of that stress response when we have coffee, right? Because it activates your adrenaline. So some people need a little bit or use it and enjoy it. For others, it actually irritates their stomach lining too much, and it is a factor in ulcers. It's definitely a factor in heartburn. So I'm not sure what your concerns are specifically around the coffee. If you have details, you can pop them in the question box. But for in general, coffee is a little bit harsh. It's a little bit acidifying. So too much of it will maybe create some inflammation in your body. And so if you're going to use it, it needs to be in moderation. What do you say, Katie?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. My line is it's not good to need coffee. And so even if you are tending towards constipation and you find that you're not having a bowel movement without a cup of coffee, chat with your healthcare provider or trying some of the things we talked about, you might find that you can eliminate needing the coffee by things like flax and having enough water. Coffee's delicious. I like coffee, but in moderation, and definitely coffee's better if it's something that you drink because you enjoy, not because you need it.
I agree. Yeah, we don't want to have that dependence going on, especially if you're running more constipated when you're not having it. If you're going to do coffee, we always recommend organic. It is one of the most sprayed crops out there. So if you're going to enjoy that in moderation and ideally organic, it's better for the birds and the people. And black, yeah. Because especially if you're going on the cleanse, well, actually there's no coffee in your cleanse, so you might want to try like a dandelion tea or something like that if you're really into that bitter flavor, and it's actually good for your digestion because it's good for your liver. So breaks from coffee if you can, and go organic.
Oh, here's another question in here.
Okay.
This one's from Melissa, and she says, what do you recommend for heartburn?
Okay. Do you want to take that?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we mentioned heartburn a lot, and if this is something that you're struggling with, it really is good to work with a healthcare provider for that, especially if you're already on medication, because some of the things that we recommend actually don't jive well with some of the meds because they have different mechanisms of action that don't work well together. But we do look at restoring the stomach acid and making sure that that's optimal through things like digestive bitters, and also soothing the esophagus through things like slippery elm.
Yeah, and it's a good idea to get that addressed because chronic or long-term heartburn will cause damage in the esophagus, and it is a risk factor for even cancer of the esophagus. So it shouldn't go untreated ever. If it's occasional, it's okay. I like marshmallow root tea. If you can sip on that, it can really help people taper down their medication if they need to restore the actual health of their digestive tract, replace stomach acid over time. Because again, a lot of heartburn has to do with low stomach acid and that sphincter not triggering. I've seen some people benefit from osteopathic or chiropractic care actually for the spine, because the nerves that come out of the spine that control your digestive tract, including this sphincter closing activity, could actually have some pressure on them from different muscles or bones in your spine, and relief can come with that too. That's right from infants up to adults. Another thing to do. I've also seen heartburn completely resolve with the 3-week cleanse. So maybe give that a try and let us know how that goes. Yeah, food is such a great healer, and let us know how that goes for you. Okay, and John is asking, I find that I have to go to the bathroom every time I eat breakfast. Is that normal? Yep. So as long as you're not rushing with urgency to the bathroom after breakfast, that's totally normal.
Yeah. Anytime that you have a big meal, it's totally fine. It actually triggers, that's very healthy for the food coming into your body, so your body to trigger elimination.
Yeah, it's a reflex.
And it's what happens in babies, and
Yeah.
sometimes we lose that over our
That's right.
life, and we forget that that's totally normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hold a lot of tension in our abdomen, or the food that we're eating isn't necessarily the best for us. So tons and tons of reasons. But yeah, one bowel movement a day, it sounds like you're having. If it's right after breakfast, but you're not running to the bathroom, it's totally okay. Hopefully, it doesn't take too much time out of your morning routine. But that's the reason why some people get constipated, is that normal trigger is happening after breakfast, but they're running out the door to get to work or school, and then constipation happens because you've lost that window of opportunity. So if that's interfering, just back up your morning routine if you can by 10-15 minutes, and then you should feel relaxed enough to have that mind piece, or that mental emotional piece, for the parasympathetic nervous system to take hold, and you can get on with your day. Okay. Okay, so I don't see any more questions in the question box, guys. So we will leave it here for you. Be sure to go visit our website so that you can hear about Katie's upcoming IBS talk. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you there. And let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, bye.